Well, explain that, because you used to be a liberal.
Right.
And then you became a conservative.
That's correct.
So what was it?
So I was the quote-unquote victim of a hate crime when I was in high school.
When you say quote-unquote victim, you don't
I hate
think
the word
you're a victim?
No, I hate the word victim. And I'm like, and again, I can see why early on I've sort of developed this mentality that like there's no value in being a victim, and people rush to call people a victim. They rush to call somebody the aggressor.
So how do you describe it? That you experienced a hate crime?
I experienced something that was labeled a hate crime. I wouldn't even call it hate crime. I think we live in a label-obsessed culture, and before we seek to understand what happened, we seek to like
put it in a box.
Yeah. Like,
so what happened?
Someone has to be a demon and someone has to be an angel.
Right.
So what happened was I received some voicemail messages from about 4 kids, and the language was pretty strong. It was like, we're gonna tar and feather your family. We're gonna put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King. Like, N-word, N-word, N-word.
And you received these on your phone?
On my cell phone, yeah.
How'd they get your phone number?
Well, there was a prank phone call, so I didn't know. I was like 4 male voices, and I was like in high school at the time, and I was like, okay, I cannot think of 4 human beings that want me dead that would say like, we're going to put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, like naming
off. Where'd you go to school? Where were you? What part of the country?
Stanford High School in Connecticut.
But when you were in high school,
right,
somebody started doing this prank call and shit on you, and was this?
It was all in one night.
It was all in one night.
Yeah, it was like 4 voicemails.
Was this tied to like a boyfriend?
No,
or
so
a girl
I
was jealous?
at a boyfriend's house when I got the calls, and I just like put it to silent because it was like blocked number. So I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And then like when I listened to it, like it was like some pretty horrific stuff. Like I definitely cried. I was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day at school, I took this like philosophy class, and like I don't know what the topic was. I don't know what prompted me to raise my hand and like introduce what had happened last night as like, a segue. Maybe I just needed to get off my chest, but like the teacher like spazzed out and was like, get up, we're going to the principal's office. Like, you have to report this. He brings me into the office. The principal like freaked out. Like she just like, the language was like, it was shocking, and then she called like the resource officer, and then like the next period of my life was like a blackout because it turned out that 3 of the kids I had never even met. Like this was like maybe some kids that had their first beer. One of the kids I was like friends with, but we were arguing because he was upset that I was like spending so much time with my boyfriend.
Oh,
but I didn't.
That's
but he's gay. Like it wasn't like he just was like jealous. Like like just like I used to hang out with him every day. Started hanging out with my boyfriend. It was like a stupid thing.
Maybe he wasn't 100% gay.
Yeah, no, he's 100% gay, from what I'm told. But yeah, so then
he just got petty, and jealous,
and then it was like, here are my 3 friends, and we're all going to get drunk and call this black girl, and it's easy to say awful things into like this. Like if you don't have to look at a human being, like it's easy to say awful things, but unfortunately for me, one of the people in the car happened to be the current governor of Connecticut's son.
Oh,
so this turned from like some kids prank called to like said some awful things to like front page of the newspaper. Throughout the entire state of Connecticut, a little bit in New York, NAACP outside of my school. It was like this situation that was talk about outrage culture, my first like introduction to outrage culture and the things that sort of formed my thoughts. Like this was a very formative experience in my life. Which to me, it was non-political, but it was like my life wasn't mine. Like I went from like sitting down I was watching Talladega Nights with my boyfriend to being the most discussed person in the state of Connecticut. And what was interesting about it was just that because it was the governor of Connecticut's son that was in this car, they had to get the FBI involved to determine the authenticity of the like maybe she called herself, right? He instead of just saying like yes it was my son, he actually let the FBI investigate for 6 weeks and waited for his son to get arrested 6 weeks later. You know what I mean? Like,
did his son deny it?
They just want to see if they could get away with it. Because this is politics. You know what I mean? Like, can we get away with it? Is it plausible for us to get away with it? So 6 weeks of the entire state. I like left school. People were like fighting on my behalf, fighting.
You left school? You like, I'm going to take a break?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just
Senior
like.
year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
This was just like, it was like a monstrosity of a situation.